I'm Jenna, and this is Face Off, in which we put two products head-to-head or face-to-face. In this episode, we'll be testing the new Marc Jacobs Shameless Foundation against the Nars Longwear Radiant Foundation and see how they hold up when one is on one side of my face and one is on the other. Let's get started. So these are the two foundations we're going to be testing today. One has a glowy finish and one dries matte, so you'll really be able to tell the difference in texture when you see them on my face. So the Nars one is the glowy one, Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation. It's more of a medium to full coverage, whereas the Marc Jacobs Shameless Foundation promises 24 hours of wear, and it's a youthful look foundation, but it still has that matte sort of powdery finish, but they're both lightweight and both great for oily or dry skin. I have sort of combination, so I'm excited to see how they look compared to one another. Let's do the Nars first, and I'll do that on the right side of my face. So I have just a little bit of BB cream on my face, but nothing else, no primer, so you'll really get to see the true finish of these foundations. So Nars, I'm just using a beauty blender. I'll put some on the back of my hand. I'll dip it in there and start applying. You can see right away that this is a full coverage foundation and it's really applying pretty dramatically, but it still has a glow and a glowy finish to it, a little bit of a sheen. My shade is Mont Blanc on the Nars foundation. Get under my eyes, get on this side of my nose. Always go down your neck so you don't have a weird stripe. So I've just applied the Nars Radiant Fluid Longwear Foundation on the right side of my face. It's a really natural finish, but it still did a really nice job of taking down the redness that's in my skin and covering up any imperfections. And it still has a really good skin-like texture. If you like a dewier finish, something not quite as matte, I would highly recommend this. Moving on, now that the Nars side is done, let's see how it holds up with the new Marc Jacobs Shameless Foundation, which just launched. They used this backstage at the show. It comes in, I think, 29 shades, so a lot of shades for all skin tones. The one I'll be using is Fair Y30. I did sort of have a hard time choosing my correct shade. I found the undertones to be a little bit hard to shade match. So if you're going to look for this in store, make sure you try it on the back of your hand or on the neck to make sure you're getting the right color. I'm going to put some on the back of my hand. And here we go. Dip it in there. There we go. So right off the bat, this one you can see is also pretty full coverage. It has a lot of pigment to it, but it's really lightweight. I have some acne spots on this cheek too that we'll really be able to see how it covers up. So right away I can tell that this is settling in with more of a matte finish, which if you don't do a good job of blending right away can leave a little bit of like a mask-like quality, so you just really have to work it into your skin. Now that I'm looking at it, these kind of look exactly the same to me. I know that we'll give the Marc Jacobs one a minute just to sort of dry down and settle into that matte finish it claims that it has, but it does also call itself a youthful look foundation, and we all know that youthful skin is not powdery matte, so it will still have a very skin-like quality to it. Whereas the Nars one promised a lot of glow, and while I do see that, I don't see that much more glow than the Marc Jacobs side. I just finished applying the Marc Jacobs foundation on the left side of my face, so now you can really see the difference between the two finishes. Can you guys see a difference in the texture? This one promises a glowier finish, this one promises more matte. To me, in person, this maybe has a little bit more of a sheen, but overall, I thought the coverage of both was really, really nice. They were both lightweight. They don't feel heavy, cakey at all. So if you are not a fan of liquid foundation because you don't like that makeup feeling, I would highly recommend trying both of these. If you tend to have more oily skin than dry, I think the Marc Jacobs will be your go-to, but you really have to apply it quickly because once it sets, it will set into a powdery finish. As I'm talking, I can see it setting into more of a powdery finish, sort of the liquid from it is evaporating. The Nars Natural Radiant Longwear Foundation is $49 at Sephora, where the Marc Jacobs is $46, so they're pretty close in price. I will say that the Marc Jacobs has SPF 25 in it, which sort of leaning me to want to choose the Marc Jacobs, because if you aren't a fan of applying SPF, you at least get some in there. If I had to choose a winner, I'm going to say it's the Nars. I just like a more radiant finish. I feel like it makes your skin just look a little bit brighter. You need a little less highlighter throughout the day. The Marc Jacobs, though, is really close. It's a close second. I think the Nars just beats it by a hair, but make sure you apply an SPF underneath so that you still are protected from the sun.